Hey there and welcome back to XCOM 2. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Legend Ironman walkthrough of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Last time we left off, after completing a very interesting challenge to unlock the Overpowered achievement, we went into a mission with a squad consisting only of rangers and not even a full squad, only 5 of them, and somehow, despite activating every single enemy on the map on the same turn, we won the mission, and we even came very close to doing so with a flawless mission rating. Today we have our sights set on 1 or 2 additional achievements. We'll see what kind of mission we are presented with today, and then we'll decide from there. As we jump into the world map then, we are presented with a rumor for supplies, but last time we left off scanning for a heavy weapon.
Avenger plotting new course.
After all, we are swimming in supplies and we are already in the second half of the month, so let's try our luck with the heavy weapon instead. That brings us then to the conclusion of another round of Psi training for Psi Operative Esteban Flores, and of course we will just keep pumping him full of abilities. Of the 3 we are presented here, Domination strikes me as the most useful, so let's go with that one. His colleague Matt Lewin should follow very shortly.
We completed our research in remarkable time, Commander.
And finally we have it, the Plasma Lance has been unlocked, and that means after 61 episodes we now have Plasma tier weaponry all across the board, the Shadow Lance for our Reapers and the Plasma Lance for our Sharpshooters. We are also presented here with an extremely good breakthrough, improved bullpups, an extra point of damage for our Skirmishers, a class that is built upon firing twice per turn. That is huge. However, we have to finish this playthrough at some point, and as a completionist I would like to complete at least all of the autopsies here before we do so, not to mention that our next project here will give us a huge advantage too, the Warlock's Disruptor Rifle, so let's focus on that for the time being.
I will make that our highest priority.
Afterwards we can then hop back into the world map, but once again not for long. As advertised, up next we have Matt Lewin completing his psionic training, and just like Esteban will now continue training until the campaign ends or he has nothing more left to learn. With him I think we'll go with Inspire here, definitely a bit of an underrated ability in my opinion. In the right moment that extra action point from Inspire can be crucial, so let's make sure that both our Psi operatives have the ability. Good news then, Reaper Dragonova now also with all negative traits removed. And in 10 short days the same will be true for Sharpshooter Radonis, who we might actually still have some big plans with, but more on that in due time. For now we can continue scanning and slowly but steadily approach our next supply drop, although we still haven't had this month's Guerilla Ops, so I suppose those will be coming up shortly.
You had your opportunity to avoid this scenario, but now you must face it directly.
Right, bit of a nasty dark event going into effect here. A risk of capture on all covert actions definitely means that we will have to pick those a bit more carefully. We should be able to counter it on some of them, but for this next month here we might want to be a bit careful. The heavy weapon rumor then gives us another blaster launcher, honestly probably one of the best heavy weapons in the entire game, even though I believe this is already our 3rd one. We can also see here on the bottom left of the screen that Nicholas and Mox have formed a level 3 bond, and so the training center is ready for a new pair to be slotted in here, and thankfully we also have a pair available, Reaper Celica and Grenadier Typhoon. So for 6 days let's now develop their bond to level 2, and then we can continue scanning. I assume today's mission should come up shortly. First of all though, we have to select where to scan next, and as you can see we really only have 2 options to choose from.
Avenger plotting new course.
And since the reduced contact cost is absolutely pointless, I suppose we'll go with the supplies after all. It's not like having more of them will hurt us. And there we go, just as we start scanning, today's set of missions appears. Option number 1 in the new Arctic would allow us to counter the Wild Hunt Dark event and also to recover some intel. Since we faced the assassin last episode, she is also guaranteed to not show up, and the number and types of enemies here also seem very doable to me. Option number 2 then in New Chile, the supplies option, and considering that it also counts as a not so threatening dark event, I think we can safely skip it. Eastern Europe then allowing us to counter a dark event that might actually be relevant to us soon, however it won't be a total game changer if we let it happen. And well, considering that we have only recently acquired another Colonel level sharpshooter in Pale Rider Hancock, I think the choice is made. We are going to the new Arctic for intel and countering the Wild Hunt Dark event.
Setting course for the Arctic territories.
And this time we're not doing anything crazy for our squad selection. We are bringing a well-rounded squad with lots of familiar faces, and we have a few goals in mind for them. Pratal Mox, for example, is very close to receiving his next level up, and we also still need to kill enemies with the Shredstorm Cannon and the Blaster Launcher to unlock another achievement, and hopefully this mission should allow us to grab that. Apart from that, nothing too crazy here regarding a loadout and abilities, so let's see what awaits us as we head out into the field.
Ranger deployed.
In position to drop.
We just got a tip from a resistance contact in the field. A high-ranking Advent officer was spotted moving through the area with limited escorts. This could be a chance for us to disrupt their current operations and throw off their command structure. Your orders are to eliminate that officer with extreme prejudice. Menace 1-5, we're tracking the Advent General and his escorts, but we don't have an exact fix on their location. Sweep the area and eliminate the target along with any other hostiles that stand in your way.
Our initial readings were correct, Commander. The aliens have clearly unleashed their most unrestrained subjects on this area.
Alright, let's get to it then. We should be fighting a good number of beast-like enemies, so berserkers, faceless, and a few regular ones as well. Our main objective, meanwhile, is to locate the Advent Field Commander. For that, we don't have a mission marker, so we just need to go out and explore.
L'ennemi est en train de bouger.
And doing so with Ranger Mick here already reveals the first pot of enemies, a berserker and a lancer. Just 2 enemies, so nothing too difficult here to get us started, and we also still have concealment, so we can safely sneak up on them to then hopefully launch our ambush on the next turn. Now, unfortunately, our enemies move away from us, but thankfully not too far away. As you can see, we still have line of sight against both of them, and so let's begin laying fire down on the Lancer. Once activated, the Berserker won't see cover anyway. The Lancer, meanwhile, might be a tad bit more difficult to hit after this.
We're in their sight.
Alright then, with a critical hit we begin the encounter, and as expected the Lancer now seeks cover, while the Berserker just rushes in and makes things easy for us. Still, even the Lancer should hopefully not pose too much of a challenge. Despite the cover, Pratal Mox is almost guaranteed to hit.
I did nothing.
Well, that's why it's almost guaranteed. Thankfully though, he can simply try again.
We triumph. I need ammunition.
Alright, and that's the first kill of the mission, going to the soldier who needs the most. Let's keep things going now with a pistol shot from Tsunami. Afterwards then Specialist Van Dyke can lay down fire, this one another guaranteed hit. And then we can move up with Psi Operative Lewin to take a close range shot with the Boltcaster. And that brings the Berserker down to 3 hit points, enough for Tsunami to deliver the killing blow.
You know that's good.
Now she won't get it here, but technically Tsunami still has 1 rank left to go. So while we are prioritizing Mox and our heavy weapons when it comes to kills in this mission, we should not forget about our sharpshooter entirely.
We're picking up an inbound Advent transport. The aliens are going to try and extract the General from the AO. Don't let them get on board that ship.
Alright, and just like that, we now not only have a mission timer, but also a clear direction on where to go. Moving towards the enemy evac point will undoubtedly reveal the Advent Field Commander sooner or later. For now though, our still cloaked Ranger Mick does not detect anything. And so we spend our turn here regrouping, making sure that our Ranger does not get too far ahead of the rest of the group. After all, with the first 2 enemies down, we still have 11 left, and the map here is not that large, so we might run into more than we are comfortable with very, very soon.
Je suis dessus.
Speaking of which, this I would say is the Savage sitrep very much in action. As we can clearly see, at least 5 of those remaining 11 enemies are faceless. For a change though, unlike in regular retaliation missions, they are not hiding under the guise of being civilians, which also makes them incredibly easy enemies to deal with. At the end of the day, the biggest strength is that you never know where you're going to find them, but once you have found them, they are unarmored 12 hit point melee enemies, and at this stage of the game we are more than well prepared for that. And so we now move in with Psi Operative Lewin to strike the nearest faceless with a Soulfire.
Your mind is your weakness.
Which we can then follow up with a Wrath attack from Pratal Mox, risking potential detection by those other 3 faceless.
There is no forgiveness. Utilizing both.
But even if that happens, I think we are well equipped to deal with them.
The light has left them.
And as you can see, we do not actually alert anyone else. Instead, Mox gets the kill and can now fire again. And of course, we want him to get a kill on that shot too, so let's soften up our target first with Specialist Van Dyke. And there we go, we're down to 3 hit points, and that means Mox can already grab kill number 3 of the mission.
We deny our creators.
So there we go, 2 more enemies down, and we already know the location of 3 additional ones, and perhaps Ranger Mig can even get line of sight.
Groupe d'ennemis dans les parages. Je l'ai sous les yeux. Target identity confirmed. That's the general. Take him out before they can escape. We won't get another shot at this.
So there we are, we have spotted not only those 3 additional faceless, but also the Advent General, who I presume should be accompanied by at least 1 or 2 more alien units, and realistically that then leaves us with one final alien part that we have not yet discovered. Either way, for this turn we will not engage anyone. Let's wait and see what our enemies come up with.
Vigilance.
Come get some.
And the faceless then are the ones to move first, thus triggering our reaction fire.
Only the best.
Ennemi aperçu dans la zone.
And that would then be that final part of enemies, a faceless, a gatekeeper and a lancer, as we now also learn who accompanies the field commander, yet another lancer and a heavy mech. Now very importantly, that gatekeeper part has not yet spotted us. Still, even without them, that leaves us with 5 enemies to deal with on this turn. And keep in mind that we are also still in the business of achievement hunting, so if possible I would like to get at least 2 heavy weapon kills, one with the Shredstorm cannon and one with the blaster launcher. So this certainly makes the situation a bit more tricky than necessary. Still, as you know, I like a good challenge, and we have plenty of toys to play with. To get us started, a lightning hand shot from Tsunami deals max damage against one of the faceless, which we can then follow up with the special Icarus Jump Armor ability, just so we avoid spending an action on movement. This then gets us into position to take a 77% pistol shot against the mech. Certainly not the best odds, but the chance to bypass the mech's armor here, too good to pass up.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
And unfortunately, the shot goes wide, but we are still not done yet. At this point, we can now use rapid fire against the general. 2 89%ers, both with about a 50% chance to crit, although just hitting them in the first place would be enough for me.
Impressed yet?
Menace 1-5, kill confirmed. That's how it's done. We need to clear the area of any remaining hostiles. We can't allow them to recover the general's body.
Alright, Tsunami more than making up for her mistake earlier. Double criticals, take out the general, and complete the second mission objective. Still, we have 4 more enemies left, including the mech and the lancer. The latter we can't even see at the moment, so we are not quite in the clear just yet. Still, I did pay close attention during that brief moment where we could see the Lancer, so we can now get over to them using Mig's run and gun. This of course will also break his concealment, but thankfully only after getting out of the Gatekeeper's line of sight. And being this close and in a flanking position, we now have an almost guaranteed critical hit. Now it's not necessarily guaranteed to kill, but it should do a lot of damage either way. And indeed, we do get the kill, so that's nice. Up next, we can now move up with Grenadier QT, but before she takes aim, let's focus on the two Faceless and hit them with a Void Rift.
Welcome the Void!
So that kills one and very importantly deals 5 points of damage to the other, and that's lucky because it now guarantees Mox another kill even with minimum damage. And there we go, our first objective has been completed, Mox has earned the promotion to Major, and with that side of the battlefield secured, we can now lay down fire against the mech with our Grenadier. Down to 11 hit points, and with its armor removed, the mech now presents a much easier target. Still, it is not quite where we need it to be to kill it with one of the aforementioned heavy weapons.
Oh yeah!
So by using Van Dyke's teamwork, we keep Tsunami going for just a little while longer. This time, however, I'm actually hoping that she does not crit. And wonderful, she leaves the mech standing with a single hit point. And that means, thanks to the absolutely absurd range and cover penetration of Van Dyke's Shredstorm cannon, we can now kill it.
Ein Sturm zieht auf!
And there we go, obviously a complete and utter waste of the Shredstorm cannon's full powers, but I think on this mission here we can afford it, and it helps us to ensure that we do in fact unlock all achievements. Now, thankfully, the enemy turn passes by without the Gatekeeper pod coming into range, and we can also reconceal our Ranger to scout them out a bit further. Eventually then he ends up in the same spot where he was before, and we can see our final 3 enemies here have not moved an inch, so let's get our squad as close as we can without being detected, and then we will finish our turn on Overwatch, hoping for our enemies to make a move.
Affirmative.
On
Covering now.
Overwatch!
And yeah, sometimes I wish you guys could hear me during the live recording portion of this. In this particular case, you would now hear me laugh for a minute straight. So yes, I did give Mox a superior repeater prior to the mission. After all, the goal was for him to get as many kills as possible. And well, it seems to me like he took that assignment very seriously, making the most out of his 20% chance for the instant kill. And so at this point, we only have the Lancer and a 3 hit point Faceless left. And let's begin with the Lancer, who we can once again soften up with Specialist Van Dyke. And now that Mox has secured his promotion, we do not need to pursue kills as aggressively with him, so let's bring the Lancer down just a few more hit points by tossing a grenade. This now in turn ensures that QT will get the kill with the blaster bomb, and once she does, we unlock achievement number 66 of this playthrough. And there we go, that unlocks the Heavy Metal achievement, which at least according to my Steam stats, only 1.6% of players actually have, making it one of the rarest achievements in the entire game.
We have confirmation. Mission accomplished.
And there we go, with the final kill here from Ranger Mig, we not only complete a flawless mission but also grab some loot. All in all, this certainly was not too challenging, but considering the achievement we were going after in this mission, that was kind of the point. I wanted to make sure that we absolutely had enough flexibility in our squad to be able to unlock it.
Oh, that's a cute pose.
Vicious criminals inflicted a sudden and unprovoked assault upon us today. May our thoughts be with the Advent citizens we lost. May they truly be at peace forever in the Elder's loving embrace.
I never had any doubts about your capabilities, Commander. Excellent work as always.
Alright, so 3 soldiers tired, but we've got the promotion we wanted for Mox. And not only that, as you can see, Ranger Mig and Grenadier QT are also ready to form a bond. And since we will most likely not keep playing for long enough for them to form it with anybody else, let's confirm it right away. For Mox then, at the rank of Major, we only have 2 abilities to choose from, starting with Waylay. This essentially allows the skirmisher to store their unspent action points, potentially allowing them to fire more than once during Overwatch. This is good in theory until you consider that we don't really put skirmishers on Overwatch all that often, and even if we do, this would only be useful if we do so right away and not spend an action moving or reloading first. And that is why we are going with a Reckoning instead, another use for the skirmisher's Ripjack, crucially one that only consumes 1 action point. It is essentially a melee attack comparable to the ranger's Slash, but very importantly it uses that 1 action point even if you use it over dashing range, so it drastically improves the skirmisher's action economy and mobility. And at this point it is also finally revealed to us what that loot actually was, an Elerium core and a superior repeater.
You and your crew have dealt another serious blow to the aliens' efforts today, Commander. Impressive work.
Alright, and just like that, we have now countered the Wild Hunt Dark event and we have acquired 124 units of intel, an enormous boost and one that the game actually wants to increase even further by giving us an intel rumor here. And this, I think, is actually worth switching off of the supply rumor we are currently scanning. However, with so much intel coming in, let's first pay a visit to the black market.
Avenger plotting new course.
After all, the end of the month is coming closer, and again we are swimming in intel at the moment and are about to receive much more. So let's first of all spend 50 intel here to grab 37 alien alloys. Trust me, we will need those. In addition then, we will now do something that might be a bit controversial. We will purchase one of the Rush research projects here. Now, it says here that this will halve the remaining research time, but on Legend difficulty that's actually not true. We will only receive a 25% research time reduction, so in most cases this is really not worth spending the intel, and we are also only doing it because we have so much of it.
Avenger plotting new course.
In practice, this will usually save you at best a handful of days, and for the majority of the game, intel is just so precious that that's not worth it. Now moving on, the Advent Midnight Raids Dark event completes. This now doubles the cost of new recruits for a month, and we do actually want to purchase a few of them soon. Ultimately though, this is hardly more than slightly annoying.
Our actions have succeeded, and the Elders grow fearful.
Alright, we have completed a covert action and we have received a promotion for Twitchy, but much more importantly than that, we have recruited another scientist, and he goes by the all-too-familiar name of Muffalo Cambia. Rather fitting, I think, that he shows up at this point in the series, considering that we have just begun playing a new RimWorld series and that we are playing it on the sea ice, a biome where Cambia here would probably feel right at home. Now, Cambia was submitted by Patreon supporter Tony Murchison, another familiar name if you follow the RimWorld series, and his biography is about what you would expect. This guy is a weird one, showed up out of nowhere in a jury-rigged scrap pile of a spaceship. Seems to have more experience with turrets than the rest of us put together. For some weird reason, ever since we started training him, we've had the occasional corpse vanish from the morgue. Horribly fitting then that Cambia is to join our science staff, while we are now reminded of Twitch's still outstanding promotion, but first of all, let's choose our next covert operation. And once again, we are going with one here that gives us another promotion. Specifically, it will give this promotion to Templar Logan. Otherwise, I somehow doubt that we will see him ascend to the rank of Colonel before the series ends. Accompanying him will be Ranger Hussar Sobieski, who with a bit of luck will receive enough experience points to level up himself, but considering that he is only still a sergeant, that is hardly a priority. Of course, we will also assign the supplies to negate any and all risks on this mission. We can more than afford it, and then we can send the two of them on their way.
My followers will lead this action to victory.
Afterwards then we jump straight over to the armory to give Twitchy her well-earned promotion, and I think I have mentioned this numerous times before, but at this stage of the series, Salvo is just the obvious choice in my opinion. Between tracer rounds, aim PCSs and superior scopes we really have no trouble hitting anything, which therefore drastically reduces the usefulness of hail of bullets.
I have made a number of interesting discoveries, Commander.
Alright, and there we are. We have unlocked the Warlock's Disruptor Rifle, the second of the chosen weapons. Just like the Darklands, this one comes with 4 superior grade weapon attachments, and it also delivers guaranteed critical hits against all psionic enemies. Moving on then, as we hover over the sector pod breakdown, we can see the research time only 7 days. Without the rush research, I think it should be 8 or 9 instead. So again, we are really not gaining much from that, but at least 1 day to perform another datapad decryption.
The science is eager to begin, Commander.
So again, spending that intel earlier, a questionable decision at best. Consider it a showcase for the sake of full completion.
When inspired, our team is actually quite efficient.
And there we are, 92 intel gained, time to keep researching.
I am ready to begin on your order, Commander.
And would you look at that, we have another datapad decryption ready and waiting for us, so let's get that completed as well before we focus on something else.
I will make that our highest priority.
And once again, this should be completed quickly, just in time in fact, before we have the end of the month supply drop coming in.
Our inspiration did prove beneficial.
So there we are, this time only 69 intel, still more than we need.
Greetings, Commander.
And at this point, I think we will then also go with the sector pod breakdown. Of the projects here that still remain, that strikes me as the most useful one, and thanks to spending a horrendous amount of intel, it will now be completed 1 day earlier.
From what I've been told, our troops took to calling this large robotic unit a sectopod, under the initial assumption that it was being controlled by a sectoid pilot. On closer inspection, we can see that is not the case. Not unlike the mechanized Advent units, which were likely derived from the sectopod itself. This machine seems to be entirely autonomous.
And there we are. Up next, we now have the monthly supply drop coming up, but I think we'll leave that for the next episode. For today, I think we have struck a good balance between mission action and overall campaign progression, not to mention that we have successfully recruited everyone's favorite cannibal. So let's make the cut at this point. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.